Hello everyone, welcome to this video tutorial on SQL interview questions by Simplilearn. SQL is a very important technology that is used in the IT industry. Professionals working as application developers, web developers, data analysts, data scientists, software testers, and cybersecurity experts need to know SQL. In this video, we will cover 30 important SQL questions that are most frequently asked in the interviews. So before I begin, make sure to subscribe to the Simplilearn channel and hit the bell icon to never miss an update. Now these questions consist of a set of theoretical and practical questions. So we will use different commands, functions, joins and other functionalities in Excel to solve the problems. So let's get started with the first question. So the first question is to state the difference between where and having clause in SQL. Now where and having are very widely used in SQL to solve specific problems. Now let's look at the difference one by one. So where clause is used to filter the records from the table based on the specified condition and can be used without the group by clause. On the other hand, having clause is used to filter the records from groups based on specified conditions. Now where clauses cannot have aggregate functions, so you cannot use sum, count, average, min and maximum functions in the where clause. While in the having clause, you can operate on aggregate functions, and those aggregate functions are used to filter values from a group. Now where clause is implemented on rows or at row level. So for each row of data, you have the where condition applied. Now having clauses are implemented on columns, so for each column of data, you have the having condition applied. Now another important difference between where and having is that the where clause is executed before the execution of the group by clause and after the execution of the from clause. On the other hand, the having clause is executed after groups are created. Now we will learn more about where and having and understand the usage better when we tackle practical problems in this video. Now moving to our next question, which is how is drop different from truncate? So drop and truncate are two different commands. So drop command is used to drop the whole table, removing the table definition and its contents, while truncate deletes all the rows from the table. Now we can drop the whole table structure in one go, so the view of the table does not exist. By using the truncate command, the existence of all the rows in the table is lost, but the view in the table exists. Now integrity constraints will be removed in drop command, while the integrity constraints will not be removed when you use the truncate command. Now moving to our third question. Now this is a practical question. So we will be using a table which is present in my MySQL database. So the table name is called employees, and I want to find the lowest salary of the employees in each department. You can see here, this is how my employees table looks, and the output query would be something like this. So here, since I want to find the lowest salary of the employees, so I'm using a min function to find the lowest salary in the table, and then I'm grouping all the employees and the results by department. So let's do this on MySQL Workbench. Okay, so here I am on my MySQL Workbench. First, let me go ahead and create a new SQL script. So I'll click on this, and that will create a new script. Okay, so here we'll write our commands. Alright, so our question was to find the lowest salary for each department. Okay, so I've given my comment to make my commands and whatever I'm doing more readable. So first, before I proceed, I need to select my database. So I'm going to use my SQL_intro database. So I'll write use SQL_intro. Now this database has a lot of tables that we'll be using in this interview questions video. I'll run it. Okay, we are in our SQL intro database. Now there is a table called employees. Let me show you the table first. If I write select star from employees, okay, so here you can see this is the table I'm talking about. Now these are the rows that are present in the table. We have 20 rows, and here you can see the different columns. We have the employee ID, employee name, age, gender. We have the department, city and salary. Now this is the same table that we have also used in our other videos that are already live on YouTube. Okay, so let's solve our question to find the lowest salary for each department. Now for that I'll write select. I'll select my department column, which is DEPT, comma, and then to calculate the lowest salary or to find the lowest salary, I'm going to use the min function. So that will return the minimum salary present in the salary column. So I'll write min salary as I'm giving an alias name as, let's say, lowest underscore salary from my table name, that is employees. Then I'll write group by department. Now I'm grouping it by department because we want to find the lowest salary of the employees in each department. Now let's run and see the result. There you go. I'll just move it to the top so that you can see the results clearly. Okay, so here we have total 7 departments, you can see at the bottom, and in these 7 departments you can see in sales 70,000, let's say, dollars was the lowest salary. In marketing we had $55,000 as the lowest salary. Similarly, if I scroll down, we have other departments like tech, IT, finance and HR. So these are the lowest salary in each department. Alright, now moving to our next question. So our fourth question is, which query will help you fetch unique values from a column in a table? So this is a multiple choice question, which is another type of question that is often asked in the SQL interviews. Now we have multiple queries here, and you need to choose the right query that will solve our problem. So since I want to get the unique values from a column in a table, so the right option would be to use the distinct keyword in the query. So if I write select distinct followed by the column name, let's say you want to find the distinct cities or the distinct departments in the employees table, so the query would be select distinct city or let's say department from the table name, that is employees. Hence this is the right option if you want to find any unique values from a column. Now moving to the fifth question. Now the fifth question says, it is actually a similar question here. We want to write the SQL query to fetch unique departments from the employees table. So as we saw, this is our employees table, and if you want to find the unique departments from the employees table, you can just write select distinct then followed by the column name, which is departments here, so DEPT from employees. Let's do this on our MySQL workbench. Okay, so let me just scroll down and I'll give a comment here, that is we want to find the unique departments. So the query would be select, then I'll use the distinct keyword. If I hit tab, it will autocomplete. Then I have my column, that is department, from my table name, that is employees. If I run this, the query will give us the unique departments that are present in the table. So here we have total 7 unique departments in the table. You can see here we have sales, marketing, product, tech, IT, finance and HR. But if you see our original table, which is the employees table, so there are total 20 records, and if you see the department column, there are multiple departments to which each of these employees belong to. Okay, now moving ahead. Now the sixth question is to write an SQL query to fetch the unique values of departments and print their length. Now this question consists of two parts. First, we need to fetch the unique values of departments that we saw in our fifth question, and then we want to print the length of each of the departments. So for that, I'm using the distinct keyword to find the unique departments, and then I'm using the inbuilt length function that is present in MySQL to find the length of the department, and then I'm using an alias that is length underscore department from employees. So let's say this on our workbench. Okay, so let me give a comment. I'll say unique departments and length. Okay, so the query would be, I'll write select distinct department, and then let me just scroll down. I'll give a comma and use my inbuilt length function. See, I'm hitting tab to autocomplete, and inside the length function I'll give my column name, that is department. I'll give an alias as department underscore length from my table, that is employees. This is pretty simple. So first I'm finding the unique departments, and then using the length function I'm finding the length of each department. Let's run and see. Okay, you can see the result here. So sales, the length is 5. Marketing, the length of marketing is 9. So basically you're counting the number of characters that are present in each of the departments. So in sales there are total 5 characters, in marketing there are total 9 characters, in product there are total 7 characters, in IT we have just 2 letters I and T, so hence the length is 2. Similarly finance is 7 and HR is 2 because we have just 2 letters H and R. Okay, so this is another variation of using distinct along with any inbuilt function. Alright. Now moving to the seventh question. The question is, what is the use of dateDiff function in SQL? Now dateDiff returns the number of days between two date or date time or timestamp values. So dateDiff is another crucial inbuilt function that is present in MySQL. So here is how you can use the dateDiff function. So it will return the number of days between two dates or date time or timestamp values. So here I have two date values, that is 10th of April 2021 and I have 30th of March 2021. So this query will give us the total number of days that lie between these two dates. And similarly, here is another example of using the dateDiff function. So I want to calculate the total number of days that are present between today's date, so I am using the now function, and between 20th of April 2021. So let's do this demo on the workbench. Alright, first I'll give a comment saying dateDiff function. Okay, now the way to use is I'll write select, and then you can see here once I type date, MySQL workbench is automatically suggesting some of the inbuilt functions. I'm going to use dateDiff, and within dateDiff I'm going to pass in two values. So I'm passing in two date values, let's say 2021 April, so I'll write 04 and let's say 10th of April. I'll give another comma and I'll pass in my second date value, that is going to be 30th of March 2021. Alright, now another thing to note here is the date value should be present inside quotations. Now if you want, you can give an alias as well. I'll write as total days. Let's run it. There you go. It has given us the output as 10. So there are total 10 days between 31st of March to 10th of April. Now let's see another example. I'll write select date diff and we'll pass in my now function. So the now function returns the current date, that is today's date, and I'll give another date value, let's say 2021 April 20th. Now we'll see the results. If you want, you can give an alias name so that the output is more readable here. I'll run it. Okay, so between today's date and my previous date, that was 20th of April, there are total 49 days. So today's date is actually 8th of June. So between 20th of April and 8th of June, there are total 49 days. Alright, now moving ahead. Now in the 8th question, we want to write an SQL query to display the departments that have more than 2 employees. So this is our employees table that we have been using, and here is how the command looks like. So here we are using both group by and having. Now I am grouping by department because I want to display the departments that have more than 2 employees. Now for the second filter, I am using the count function of the employee IDs and checking if the employees in each department are more than 2 or not. Let's do this. Let me move down a bit and I'll give a comment, departments with more than 2 employees. Okay, now let's write our query. So I want to select the department and then I'm using the count function to count the employee IDs in each department, or the employees present in each department. From my table, that is employees, I'm going to group by department and then I'll use having my count of employee ID. This should be greater than 2. So our query will return only those departments which have more than 2 employees. Let's run and see. There you go. So we have total 4 departments, that is sales, product, tech and IT, where we have more than 2 employees. You can see here sales has 4 employees, product has 3, tech has 4 and IT has 3. The rest other departments like finance, HR and others have less than 2 employees. Now if you want, you can give an alias as well. Let's say as total employees. Okay, let me run it again, and here you can see I have the column name as total employees. Okay, so moving ahead, the 9th question, we want to display the details of the employees for all the departments except marketing. Now here I have my employees table. Now if I were to display all the details of the employees apart from marketing department, I can give a condition like where department not equal to marketing. So this is the way how you write not equal to. So you use the less than and greater than symbol. Another way to do is use the exclamation mark and give equal to. So this means select all the employees where department is not equal to marketing. Now let's do this. I'll move down a bit and will give a comment as details of employees apart from marketing. So the query would be select star from employees. I'm using star because I want to display all the details. That means I want to display all the columns. then I'm going to use my where condition, where department not equal to marketing. I'll put marketing under quotes. Let's run it and see the results. There you go. So we have total 18 rows of information, and if you see the department column, we have all the departments apart from marketing. Now if you remember, our employees table had total 20 rows of information, out of which 2 are missing, which means there were 2 employees who were from marketing department, and those departments were not displaying. Now another way to do is to use exclamation mark and equal to. So this also means select all the employees where department is not equal to marketing. Let's run this. You see here it gives us the same result and has returned us 18 rows of information, leaving apart the employees from the marketing department. Alright, now moving ahead. So our 10th question is to write an SQL query to print the details of the employees who have joined before April 2010 and after May 2005. So here is my employees table and this is my SQL query. So here we are using just a where condition to filter our results, and my condition is the employee should have joined after May 2005. So I have written after 31st of May 2005 and before April 2010, which is before 31st of March 2010. Let's do this. I'll give a comment here. We'll write employees joined before April 2010 and after May 2005. Now let's write our SQL query. So I'll write select star from employees where my date of join. If you see here, I have a column called date of join, which has the details about the day on which the employee had joined the company. So I'm going to write where date of join is greater than 31st of May 2005. So I'll write 2005. This is one of the formats to use date values. So this is the year value, this is the month value, and this is the day value. And my date of join should be less than 31st of March 2010. So I'll write 2010 March 31st. I hope you were able to understand this. Date of join greater than 31st of May 2005 means after May 2005, and date of join less than 31st of March 2010, this means employees joined before 2010 April. Let's run it. Okay, so we have total 3 employees in our table. You can see the date of join, and all of them have joined after May 2005 and before April 2010. Okay. Now moving ahead to the 11th question. So here we want to find the employee with the third highest salary from the table. So I have my employees table here, and my command would look something like this. So here we are going to explore how to write subqueries in SQL. So I'm using a subquery here where I'm trying to find the employees who have the top 3 salaries, or the top 3 employees who have the highest salaries, and from that I'm going to filter out my third highest salary employee. So let's do it on our workbench. Okay, so I'll come down and let me give a comment as third highest salary. Okay, so let me first write down my SQL query and then I'll explain. So I'll write select star from. After that I'll start a bracket and write my inner query. So I'll write select star from employees order by salary descending. Then I'll use my limit keyword and I'll write limit 3 as I'll give an alias name, let's say T, and then I'm again going to use my order by salary limit 1. Okay, now let me explain you the flow. So first let me run the inner query. I'll select my inner query and I'll run it. So the inner query returns my top 3 employees who have the highest salary, and this is ordered in descending order since I used salary descending. Now let me just use this. Okay, now you can see it clearly. So these are my top 3 employees who have the highest salary. So Joseph has the maximum salary, followed by Angela, and then we have Jack. Now from this I want to return only the record for Jack, because Jack is the employee who earns the third highest salary. So for that I am going to use the result returned by my subquery or the inner query, and on top of this I'm going to order the salary and say limit equal to 1. So I'm again ordering this salary in ascending order. So what will happen? Jack will appear at the top, Angela will be at the second place, and Joseph will come to the third place. And from there I'm using limit 1 so that I can only get the record for Jack. Now if I run the entire query, you see the result. I have my employee name as Jack who earns the third highest salary. Okay. Now moving ahead to the 12th question. The question is to print all the alternate records in a table. So here is my employees table, and from this table I'm going to print all the alternate records. For example, I'm going to print my employee ID 101, then I'm going to skip 102 and print 103, followed by 105, 107, 109. So all the employee IDs that have an odd value. And you can look at this example in another way of displaying the employees which have an employee ID of even numbers. So 102, 104, 106 and so on. Now the way to do is, either you can use a simple select clause and say employee ID percentage or modulus 2 equal to 0, which means I want to filter only those employees which have an even employee ID. Else what you can do is you can use a CTE, as you can see here. So CTE, or the common table expression, is a temporary named result set that you can reference within a select, insert, update or delete statement. Now it is used to simplify complex joins and subqueries and to provide a means to query hierarchical data. Now let's write this query on our workbench and see how it works. So before that, let me explain you. I am using a few new functions such as row number. This will create a row number for each of the rows or the records present in my table. And then from this CTE I am going to use my filter clause or the where clause, where rn, which is row number, percentage 2 equal to 1. So this will return only the odd records from the table. Let's see how to do it. Okay, so I'll give a comment, print alternate records. Okay, now I'll start with my simple query, which is select star from employees where, let's say I want to find only the even employee IDs or the employees who have an even employee ID. So I can use employee ID %2 equal to 0. So it has to be a perfect division and the result should be 0. Only then I can get only the even employees. If I run this, okay, there was an error here. It should be employees. I'll run it again. You can see here I have printed the alternate records in a table. So we have skipped 101 because it is not divisible by 2. I've started with 102 followed by 104, 106, 108, and then finally we have 120 or 120. Now if you want to print only the odd records in the table, you can use employee ID %2 equal to 1. So you can see here I have 101, 103, 105, 107 up to 119. Now the best way to do this is to use a common table expression or CTE. So I'll start with my command that is with CTE as I'll start with my bracket. I'll write select star comma, then I'm going to use my row number function. So I'll write row number, then I'll write over, then I'll use order by employee ID. So this row number for each of the rows is going to be created over my employee ID column, and that is sorted in ascending order. I'll give an alias as RN, which stands for row number, from my table that is employees. I'll scroll down and then I'm going to close my bracket. I'll write select. Let me remove the space here. Okay, I'll write select star from CTE where my row number %2 equal to 1. Now let's see this from the top. So I have my common table expression where I am going to create a row number column named as RN, and this row number column is based on my employee ID column, which is sorted in ascending order, and from that I'm going to filter only those row number values that are not divisible by 2, or I'm going to print only the odd records from the table. So let's run it and see the results. There you go. So here if you mark, I have my row number column created and I am filtering only the odd records in the table. So it starts with 1, 3, 5, 7 and goes up to 19. And similarly here you can see the employee IDs, the name, the age, gender and other information. Now if you were to print the even records in the table, the alternate even records, you can use RN %2 equal to 0. Let's see the difference. I'll run this. There you go. So I have my even row number starting from 2 which goes up to 20. Okay, so this is how you can print alternate records in a table. Now moving to the next question. Now in the 13th question, we want to write an SQL query to fetch all the duplicate rows in a table. Now this is another crucial interview question that is often asked in most of the interviews. Now I have a table which is named as duplicate table, and here you can see I have some employee ID, name and age, and a few records are duplicated. For example, 101 Sam 40, the first record is duplicated, and you can see here it has the same values. Now if you mark 103 Mary and 28 is not duplicated because here the age is different, so this is a different person than compared to the third name that we have. So this is how you can find the duplicate rows in a table. So I'm going to select my employee ID, name and age, and then count all the employee IDs, the names and age, and compare them with whether they are greater than 1 or not. So if they are greater than 1, then I'll say that particular record is duplicated or is present more than one time in the table. Let's do this implementation on our workbench. Okay, so I'll come down and let me give my comment as duplicate records. Okay, so let me first show you the records that are present in my table. So I'll write select star from DUP underscore employees. I'll run it. Okay, you can see here I have my table that we saw in the slides. So employee ID 101 with name Sam and age 40 is duplicated. So we want to find this duplicate record. The way to do is I'll write select E underscore ID, which is employee ID, comma name, comma age, comma I'm going to count all of them. So I'll write count star as duplicate count. This is my alias name from my table, that is DUP underscore employees. I'll say group by employee ID, name and age, and then I'm going to use my having clause saying having count of employee ID is greater than 1 and count of name should also be greater than 1 and my count of age should also be greater than 1. Let's run it and see the results. Okay, there is some error here. The name of the table should be employees. Okay, let's run again. We have our correct result, that is employee ID 101 with name Sam and age 40 is duplicated, so the value is 2. Great. Now moving ahead. Now the 14th question is a bit tricky, wherein we want to display the employees with exactly 2 A's in their name. So you see here I have my employee names and there are certain employees who have just 2 A's in their names. So I want to find those employees only. Now the way to do is, it is a bit tricky to understand. I'm going to break it down and make you understand on my MySQL workbench. So here you can just have a glance. I write select star from employees where I am finding the length of my employee name and then subtracting my length wherein I have replaced my employee name that has A with a blank, and if this subtraction is equal to 2, then that particular employee has 2 A's in their names. So let me show this first. Let me first give my comment as employees with 2 A's. Okay. So first I'm going to write a select statement. Okay, before that I'll show you the records present in my table. Okay, if you see here, Shane is one of the employees that has just 1 A in its name. Then we have Mary 1 A, Dwayne has 1 A, but if you see Sarah has 2 A in the name, so we want to extract Sarah. Then Jack has 1 A. Again, if you see Angela has 2 A. It doesn't matter if it is uppercase A or lowercase a, we just need to find if the employees have 2 A's in their name. And similarly, if I scroll down, let me check if we have any other employee with 2 A's in their name. Marcus has 1, David has 1, Sophia has 1. We also have Amelia that has 2 A's in its name or in her name. And we also have Maya. Okay, now let me go ahead and write a SQL query, and then I'll explain you what I'm trying to do. I'll write select. I'm using the length function, and in the length function I'm going to replace, then I'll use another function called upper on top of employee name. I'll write A and then replace it with a blank. So I'm using quotations to represent blank from employees. Okay, let's run this and see the results. You see here it has given us the length of the employee strings after replacing all the A's with a blank. So here I'm essentially converting my employee names to uppercase, and I'm changing wherever there is an A, I'm replacing that A with a blank, and then I'm finding the length. So this trick I'm going to use in my final query. So I'll write select star from employees, where what I'm going to do is I'll bring this to the next line. I'll write length of employee name minus, then I'm going to use my above condition. I'll copy this, I'll paste it here, and this value should be 2. So what I'm doing is I am first finding out the length of my employee name. From that I'm subtracting the length after replacing the A's present in the employee name with a blank, and this value should be equal to 2. The reason being we are only trying to find the employees who have 2 A's in their name. Let's run and see the results. Okay, if you see here we have Sarah, Angela, Amelia and Maya who have 2 A's in their name. So we have Sarah that has 2A, Angela has 2A, Amelia has 2 A's, and then Maya also has 2A. Okay, now moving ahead. Now the 15th question is, given a string, how will you extract 4 characters starting from the second position? So I have my string here which says Michael Ballack. Now Michael Ballack, you must be aware, is a popular footballer. He is from Germany and also was the captain of Germany. So from the string Michael Ballack, I am going to extract 4 characters starting from the second position. You can use 2 inbuilt MySQL functions to do this. The first is called substr, wherein we pass in the string, then we give the position from where we want to extract the characters. So here I am going to extract from the second position, so hence 2, and then the number of characters that you want to extract, which is 4. The other way is to use the substring function, which is again similar to the substr function. In the substring function also I am first passing in my input string and then giving my starting position, which is 2, and then I want to extract 4 characters from it. Let's do it. I'll give a comment, extract strings. So here I'm going to write select. First I'm going to use substr, which is my inbuilt function. I'm going to pass in my input string which says Michael Ballack, and then I'll give my starting position, which is 2, and then the number of characters, that is 4. Let's run it and see the results. You can see here it has given us ICHA. So if you see, M is at the first position, from the second position onwards I needed 4 characters, so M, C, H and A. These are the 4 characters starting from the second position. Similarly, let me just copy this, and instead of substr I'm going to use the substring function. I'll write just ing, that becomes substring. Let's select and run it, and this also returns the same result. Suppose you wanted to extract from the fourth position, you wanted to extract, let's say, 3 characters. Let's see the results. It gives us H, A and E. If you see here, M is the first position, I is at the second position, C is at the third position, H starts from the fourth position. So H, A and E are the next 3 characters starting from the fourth position. So hence this is the result. Alright, now moving ahead. Now my 16th question is on how does self join work. So self join joins a table to itself. So the table must contain a column X that acts as the primary key and a different column, let's say Y, that stores values that can be matched up with the values in column X. Now this might not be really easy to understand. You'll get to know once we do this demo. So I have a table which is called employee manager. So this is my table. Now let me tell you how to interpret this table. We have 5 different employees starting from employee ID 1 to employee ID 5. Gary, Gibbs, Smith, Latham and Jimmy are the different employees we have. You have their salaries, and now you have the employees reporting to which manager. Now if you see here, Gary's manager ID is 3. So if you see our table, at 3 we have Smith. So Gary is reporting to 3, or in other words, Smith has a employee under him who is Gary. Similarly, Gibbs is reporting to manager ID 1 or employee ID 1, which is Gary. So Gibbs manager is Gary. Similarly, if you see for Smith, Smith is reporting to the person with manager ID 4 or employee ID 4. We have Latham. So Latham has one employee under him who is Smith. Now Latham in our table has no managers. Then we have Jimmy who's reporting to the employee ID 3 who is Smith. Okay. Now I want to use this table and return the name of the manager for each employee. To do that, I am going to use my self join. So here I am using a self join to join both the tables. Here both the tables mean I am using the same table twice. So I have written select e.employee ID, e.employee name, then we have e.manager ID. Then I am using another alias for managers. So m.employee name as manager underscore name from employee underscore manager as E. This join means self join employee underscore manager as M on e.manager ID equal to e.employee ID. So this is my common column, that is employee ID and manager ID. Let's do it. Alright, I'll give a comment here saying self join, and I'll start with my self join. I'll write select. Let me first display my table. I'll write select star from, and my table name is emp underscore manager. I'll run it. You can see the table here. This is the same table that we saw in the slides. Now I'll write my join query. I'll write select e dot employee ID comma e dot employee name comma e dot manager ID comma, then I'm using another alias as M for finding the manager name. So m dot employee name as manager name. There shouldn't be any space in the alias name. Then I'll write from emp underscore manager as E join emp underscore manager as m on e dot manager underscore id equal to m dot emp underscore id. Let me run this and we'll see the results. There you go. So Gary reports to the manager ID 3. So from the table 3 is for Smith. So Gary's manager is Smith, Gibbs' manager is Gary, Smith's manager is Latham, and Jimmy's manager is Smith. Okay, so this is how you can use self join. Now moving ahead with our next question. So the 17th question is on which of the following is called a virtual table in SQL. So again we have a multiple choice question. So the answer is view. You can see here. So view is a virtual table that has rows and columns as they are in a real table in the database. Now we can create a view by selecting fields from one or more tables present in the database. Next, moving to the 18th question. So here we want to write an SQL query to fetch the list of employees with the same salary. Again, I am going to use a self join here, wherein I'll join the same employees table, and this is how my query would look like. So I am selecting distinct employee ID, so e.employee ID, e.employee name, e.salary from employees. Then I'm joining employees as e on employees e1, where e.salary equal to e1.salary because I want to fetch the list of employees with the same salary, and I'm ensuring that the employee IDs from both the tables are different. Let's do it. I'll give a comment here and write employees with same salary, and I'll start with my query. I'll write select distinct e dot employee ID, comma, I'll write e dot employee name, comma, e dot salary from employees as e, then employees as e1, where e dot salary equal to e1 dot salary and e dot employee ID is not equal to e1 dot employee ID. I'll give a semicolon and let's print the results. You see here we have Amelia, Bela, Shane and Sarah who have the same salary. So Amelia and Shane have the same salary of $55,000. Bela and Sarah have the same salary of $72,000. Okay. Now moving to the 19th question. So the question is to write an SQL query to print one row twice in results from a table. So I have a table here called employees and I want to print one row twice in the results. So to solve such kind of problems, you need to use the union all operator in SQL. So union all combines the result sets of two or more select statements. It does not remove duplicate rows. Between the various select statements, all the rows are returned. So let's say I want to print the employee name and department for those employees who are from the HR department. Now to do this, we can use the union all operator. You can see it here. So I'm selecting my employee name, the department from my table employees as E. Then I'm giving my where clause where e.department equal to HR, and then I'm using the union all operator. Then I'm again selecting my employee name, department from employees with another alias as E1, where E1 dot department equal to HR. So let's do this. Okay, so I'll give my comment as print row twice. Okay, now I'll start with my query. I'll write select my employee name, comma, the department from my table that is employees as E. Then I'll use where E dot department equal to HR. Then I'm going to use the union all operator. So the union all will combine the result set of two or more select statements. Then I'm going to write select emp underscore name, comma, my department from employees as E1, where E1 dot department equal to HR. I'll give a semicolon. Now let's run it. There you go. You can see here Marcus and Sophia are from the HR department and we have printed them twice in our results. Coming to the next question. The question is, using the num table, write a query to add 10 when number is 0, 20 when number is 1, else print the number itself. So you can see here I have my table called num and it has just one column which is num ID or number ID. We have some numbers here and from these numbers I want to add 10 if the number is 0, 20 if the number is 1, else I would print the number itself. So to answer this question we'll use the case statement in SQL. So the case statement is SQL's way of handling if-then logic. The case statement is followed by at least one pair of when and then statements. So here you can see I have my case statement. I'm writing when case, my column name n underscore id equal to 0, then add plus 10. If it is 1, then add plus 20, else we'll just return the number id. Now let's do this. Okay, I'll give a comment saying using case statements. Okay, first of all let me display the values present in my NUM table. You can see here this is my table and there are total 12 rows of numbers. Now let's start with our query. I'll write select n underscore id, comma, then I'm going to write my case statement. So I'll use the keyword as case when n underscore id equal to 0. I'll use then n underscore id plus 10. I'll write when n underscore id equal to 1, then n underscore id plus 20, else I'll just print NID. Now I'll end my case statement. I'll write end as an alias name, let's say num underscore add, from my table that is num. Let's run and see the results. Okay, you can see here my first number was 0. So since it was 0, we have added num id or NID plus 10. So the result is 10. Now wherever the num id is 1, for example here we have added 20, so the result or the output becomes 21. Similarly here the value was 0, so we have added 10, the output is 10. And you see here again, here we had another 1, so we added 1 to 20, so the result becomes 21. And for the rest of the numbers, for example 3, we had 2, the values are the same. Okay, now moving ahead. So we have a table called num1, and using this table we want to write a query to find the sum of all positive values and the negative values. So let's see the table first. So this is my table, which is num1. You can see here we have a list of integers, and there are positive as well as negative integers. So for positive values and the negative values, we want to find the sum separately. So again, for this we are using the case statement. You can see here I have used two case statements. I'm writing select, and then I'm using the case to find if the number is greater than 0, which means it's a positive number. So I'm finding out the sum, and then I'm checking case when the integer is less than 0, so it's a negative number, and I'm finding the sum for the negative numbers as well. Let's do this. Okay, so I'll give my comment as add positive and negative numbers. Okay, so let's start with our select query. I'll write select. I'll use the sum function, and inside the sum function I'll use my case statement. So I'll write case when num underscore integer. Okay, before that let me just print the values present in my table. So I'll write select star from my table name, that is num1. Okay, so you can see here these are the values or the list of integers that we have. There are some positive as well as negative integers. Okay, let's continue with our query. So here I'm going to write case when num underscore integer or int, which is my column name, if it is greater than 0, then I'll return num underscore int. Else I'll say 0 and end my case statement. I'll give an alias as sum of, let's say, positive numbers. I'll give a comma. Then I'll use another sum function, and inside the sum function we'll use the case statement to find the sum of negative numbers or integers. So I'll write num underscore int. If it is less than 0, then num underscore int, else 0, and I'll end. Okay, and I'll give another alias name as, let's say, sum underscore neg, which stands for negative. POS is for positive integers, and then I'll write from my table, that is num1. Let's run it. Okay, there you go. We have our results. So we have two columns, sum of positive integers and sum of negative integers. You can see the results, 19 and -14 respectively. Okay, now moving ahead. Now in question number 22, we want to list the difference between primary key and foreign key. So as you can see here, primary key is something that can uniquely identify a record in a table. So if you consider a school database, a primary key would ideally be the roll number or the registration number of the student, because that is unique to all the students in a school. Now foreign key is the field in the table that is primary key to another table. So suppose you have another table called courses to which the students have enrolled to. Now if you have a roll number or a registration number column in the course table, that becomes the foreign key. Now the other difference is primary key don't accept or cannot accept null values, while foreign key can accept null values. Now you can have only one primary key in a table, but you can have more than one foreign key in a table. Now coming to the 23rd question, what is the difference between primary key and union? So you can have only one primary key in a table, as we discussed in the previous question, but you can have more than one unique key in a table. A primary key column cannot have null values, but union can accept null values. Now if you assign a column as a primary key, you create a clustered index, and similarly if you assign a column with union, you create non-clustered index. Okay, now coming to the 24th question, what is a check constraint in SQL? So check constraints are used while creating tables. Check constraint helps to limit or restrict the values that can be inserted into a column. For example, we have a table here, let's say dummy 1, and you want to ensure that every time you insert the age of people or persons in the table, you want to make sure that age should be always greater than 0. Reason being, a person cannot have, or an animal cannot have, or a tree cannot have a negative age. Similarly, you can set a constant for the salary column in a table to ensure that it is always greater than 0, because you cannot earn a negative salary, or it cannot be less than 0. Now we are going to create a dummy table on my MySQL workbench and see how check constraints can be applied. Okay, so let's give our comment as check constraints. Alright, so I'm going to create a table called dummy, let's say underscore SQL. Now this table will have a few columns. First we have, let's say, EID, which stands for employee ID. The data type is integer, and I'm going to assign employee ID as my primary key. So I'll write primary key here. Okay, I'll give a comma. Next we'll have a city column. City column is of type var_char or varying character. I'll give the size as 30, and here I'm going to apply my check constraint to this city column. I'm going to check the city should take only values as Mumbai. Let's say I'll have my final column, that is age. Age is of type integer, and here I'm going to check my age should always be greater than 0. So I'll write check age greater than 0. Okay, so our dummy SQL table has one primary key constraint, and we have applied two check constraints on city and age column. Let's run this. Okay, so we have created our table successfully. You can see it here. Now let's insert a few records and we can see the difference. I'll write insert into dummy underscore SQL. I'll write values. I'll have my employee ID as 101. I'm giving my city as Mumbai, which is what we want. And let's say I'll give my age as 10. Now this should perfectly work because my city is Mumbai and my age is greater than 0. So I should be able to insert this record successfully. You can see here I have inserted this record to the table. I'll write select star from dummy SQL so that you can check. Let's run it. There is some mistake. I should write from. Okay, let's run it. You can see it here. We have one record or one row returned. Now let's say we'll insert another record, and this time I'm going to give my employee ID as 102 because it has to be unique. And this time instead of Mumbai, I'm going to give my city as, let's say, Delhi. So I'm not following my check constraint where I am supposed to give only Mumbai I'm purposely giving Delhi here to see the difference. If I run this, let's say we'll have age is 40, which is greater than 0. Let's run it. You see here we get an error saying check constraint dummy underscore SQL underscore check is violated. Similarly, let's say I'll change this to Mumbai again, and instead of 40, let's say I'll give us minus 30. So your age can never be in negative numbers. If I run this, I get the same error. My check constraint has been violated because age should be greater than 0. Okay, so this is how you can use check constraints in SQL. Now coming to the 25th question. So given two tables A and B, we want to write a query to fetch values in table B that are not present in table A. Now to answer this question, you can use the left join. So what left join does is, it returns all the rows from the left table and only matching rows from the right table. And I've used my condition as a.id, which is in the right table, should be null. Let's write this query on the workbench. Okay, so I'll give my comment using left join. First of all, let me display my tables. I'll write select star from A. If I run this, I have the IDs. There are total 5 IDs in table A. Similarly, I'll copy this and we'll see the values that are present in table B. So again, I have 5 values. There are a few non-matching values as well. So I want to return those non-matching values that are not present in table A. So for that, I'll write select ID from table B. I'll use left join A using my ID column. This is another way to give the condition, or you can use the on operator. Then I'll give where a.id is null. Let's run and see the results. There you go. So 150, 275 are not present in table A but are present in table B. Okay. Now moving ahead. So now we'll look at the last set of 5 questions. So these questions are based on the popular Northwind sample database provided by Microsoft. Now there are several tables in this database. So we have an order table, customers, employee, products, a region table and others. We'll use our Microsoft SQL Server to solve the 5 questions. So my next question, which is based on Microsoft SQL Server, the question is, using the Northwind database, find the customers who don't have any orders. Okay, so I am on my Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. So this is how the interface looks like, and here you can see I have a list of databases. Now to solve the last 5 questions, I'm going to use the Northwind database. If I expand this, I'll click on the plus sign. You can see there are a lot of tables that are already present in the database. You can see here we have customers, employees, employee territories, order details, orders, products, region, shippers, suppliers, territories and more. Okay, let me just collapse this. Alright, so to write my queries, I'm going to create a new query file, and here you see I am currently on my master database. I'm going to change this to Northwind database so that we can utilize all the tables that are present. So my 26th question was to find the customers who don't have any orders. So for that, I'm going to use 2 tables, customers and orders. So let me first give a comment saying customers with no orders, and now let's go ahead and display the columns that we have and see the records present in the tables customers and orders. So first I'm checking all the columns and the rows present in the customers table. I'll execute using this button, or you can hit F5 as well. Okay, you can see here there are total 91 customers. These are all unique customers. You have total 91 unique customer IDs. You see here the company name of the customer. You have the contact name, the contact title, address, city to which the customers belong to, then the region, postal code, country, phone, fax number. Okay, now let me just copy this query, and now we'll check for the orders table. I'll write select star from orders, and let's execute it or run it. Okay, so there are total 830 rows of information. So there were total 830 orders or order IDs. We have the customer ID. Now this customer ID is actually the foreign key for the orders table, but for the customers table, customer ID is the primary key, and in the orders table, order ID is the primary key. We also have the employee ID. Again, this employee ID is the foreign key for this orders table. We have the order date, we have the required date, ship date, ship via, which means by which medium the order was shipped. We have the freight charges, ship name, and ship address as well. Then you have the city from which the item was shipped, the region, postal code, and the country. Okay, now let me use the distinct keyword. I'll write select distinct. I want to find the distinct customer IDs from my customers table. Let's run and see how many unique customer IDs we have. So there are total 91 customer IDs or customers. Now let's check for the orders table. Let's run it and see the difference now. If you see here, there are total 89 customer IDs in the orders table, which means there are 2 customers missing from the orders table, and that implies those 2 customers don't have any orders. So to get the result, I will use 2 different queries to derive at the same output. So I'm going to select my customer ID from my table, that is customers. I'm going to use where my customer ID, and then I'm going to use the not in operator. I'm going to use a subquery select customer ID from my orders table. Close the bracket and I'll give a semicolon. Now what this query essentially does is, it is first going to find all the customer IDs that are present in my orders table, and in the outer query we are only going to return the customers that are present in both the tables, and we are going to exclude those customers which are not present in the orders table. So let's run and see the results. We should get 2 customer IDs. There you go. So these are the 2 customer IDs which are present in the customers table and are not present in the orders table, meaning that they don't have any orders in their name. Now there is another way to do it, that is to use the not exists operator, wherein you can write another subquery to get the same result. We'll leave that to you. You can try this out using the not exists operator as well. Coming to the 27th question. Using the orders table in the Northwind database, we want to find all the month-end orders. So such problems you will face while dealing with sales data. So very often sales executives would try hard to meet their month-end targets. We want to display all the orders made on the last day of the month. So let's solve this question on our Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so let me first give my comment for the 27th question. So the question is to find all the month-end orders. So I'll just write month-end orders. Okay, now to get the month-end orders, we are going to use a built-in EO month function which stands for end of month. So let's start with the query. I'll write select. We are going to select the employee ID, comma. I also want the order ID and we want the order date from my table, that is orders. I'll then give my where clause. I'll write where my order date equal to, and I'll use my inbuilt function, that is end of month. I have hit tab to autocomplete, and inside this function I'll pass in my order date column. Then I'm going to use the order by clause. I'm going to order it by employee ID and the order ID. I'll just move down and hit tab. Okay, let's run the query. There you go. We have got 26 rows of information. You see on the left side we have the employee IDs, the order IDs, and then we have the order date column. Now if you mark the values present in the order date column, these are all the end of month date values. You see this is 28th of Feb, then we have 31st of July, we have 30th of June, so on and so forth. So these are the list of all the orders that were placed on the last day of the month. Now coming to the 28th question, we want to find the top 5 countries with the highest freight charges in the year 1997. So freight charge is the amount paid to a carrier company for the transportation of goods from origin to another location. The freight charge is calculated based on the mode of transportation and the distance between the pickup place or the pickup location and the destination. So let's try this out on the Microsoft Server Management Studio. Okay, so let me go ahead and give my comment. So since we want to find the top 5 countries with the highest freight charges, I'll just give my comment as highest freight charges. Okay, now to solve this question, I'll just change this to GHT. Okay, we are going to use our orders table. So the way to do is I'll write select. I'm going to use the top 5. So top is another keyword or an operator. So I'm going to find out the ship country and then I'll calculate the average freight prices. So I'm going to use the average inbuilt function on top of my column, that is freight. I'll give an alias as, let's say, average freight. There should be no space. I'll give a underscore. I'll write from my table, that is orders. I'll use my where clause where, and then I'm going to find the year from my order date column, and this year should be 1997. I'm going to group it by my ship country, and I'll use order by my alias name, that was average freight, and in descending order I'm going to sort it. Let's see the top 5 shipping countries who have the highest freight charges. These are the results. You have Austria, Switzerland, Sweden, Canada and Ireland, and here you can see the average freight prices sorted in descending order. Okay, now moving ahead to the 29th question. So here we want to display the total number of products in each category. So we have two different tables, products and categories. So both these tables we are going to use to find a solution to this problem, that is to display the total number of products in each category. So first let me give my comment to display the total number of products in each category. I'll just write print total products. Okay, so to solve this problem we are going to use our two tables. So let me first display the rows and columns from both the tables. The first table is products. Okay, it is products. Let's run this and see the columns that we have in this table. Okay, so you have the product ID, which is the primary key. You have the product name. So there are total 77 different products. Okay, and then you have the supplier ID, you have the category ID. So these two columns are the foreign key columns. You have the quantity per unit, unit price, units in stock, units in order, and if you want to reorder some product to fill in the stocks, so you have information for that as well, and if the product has been discontinued or not. I'll copy this and let's see what rows and columns we have in my categories table. Okay, let me execute this. Okay, so we have total 8 categories of products. You can see beverages, we have dairy products, meat or poultry, you have produce, seafood. These are the description. Okay, now to find the total number of products in each category, I'll write my query as select. I'll write category name, comma, count star. I'll give this an alias name as total products, give an underscore and write products from my first table, that is products, give an alias as P. I'm going to use an inner join with my categories table and I'll give my alias as C on my common key column, that is P dot category ID is equal to C dot category ID. Then I'm going to group my results based on the category names. So I'll write category name and we'll use the order by clause. I'll write order by count star as descending. So let's see the total number of products that we have in each category. So this shouldn't be as descending, should be just count star descending. Okay, I'll select and run it. There you go. So here on the left hand side you have the different category names and on the right you have the total number of products that belong to each of the categories. Alright, now moving on to the final question. So the last question is to use the Northwind database, and using this database we want to find the list of late orders for all the employees. So this is a real world problem that often occurs. So the shipment of your orders might get delayed due to logistic issues, or if the products are not available on time. There can be various other reasons as well. So here we want to find those orders for the employees where the required date is less than the shipment date. So we are going to use two different tables, that is orders and employees. Okay, now let me give my comment for the final query that we are going to write in this interview questions tutorial. So using the orders table, I want to find the list of orders for all the employees. So I'll just give list of late orders, not just orders, for employees. I write EMPS, which stands for employees. So here I'm going to use two tables, orders and employees. Orders table we have already seen. Let's see the rows and columns that are present in the employees table. I'll write select star from employees and let me run it. Okay, so there are total 9 employees we have. So we have the employee ID. This is the primary key column which goes from 1 to 9. We have the last name of the employee, the first name of the employee. We have the title. Then we have the title of courtesy, whether doctor, Mr., Mrs. We have the birthday of the employee, the hire date or the date of join. You have the address, city, region, postal code and other information. Alright, so let's see how you can join the orders table and the employees table to get the list of late orders. And we must remember that late orders are those where the required date is less than equal to the shipped date. So I'll start with select E dot, I'll write employee ID, comma, I want the first name, comma, I'm going to count star as late orders from my table orders as O. Then I'll use my inner join. I'll write employees as E. It doesn't matter actually if you use small e or capital E. Then I'm going to use my on condition on E dot on E dot employee ID equal to O dot employee ID. So this is my common key column that is present in both the tables. Then I'll use my where clause where. Now you should be careful and you should give the right clause. So my required date should be less than or equal to my shipped date. So this is my condition, and then I'm going to group by E dot employee ID, comma, E dot first name, and then I'll use my order by clause, order by my alias name that was late orders, and I'll arrange it in descending order. So let's run this and see our result. Okay, so you have the employee IDs on the left, then you have the first name of the employee IDs, and then you have the late orders for each of these employees. So if you see here, employee ID 4 has the highest number of late orders, followed by employee ID 3 and 8 as well as 9 who have 5 late orders. Then we have the employee ID 2 which has 4 late orders. Even employee ID 7 has 4 late orders. Employee ID 5, that is Steven, has only 1 late orders. So we are done with our demo section and we have covered all our 30 questions, out of which 25 questions were based and used on MySQL server. And to address the last 5 questions, we used our Northwind database that had a lot of tables. You can see it here, and using those tables we solved some interesting questions. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this video tutorial on SQL interview questions. I hope this was useful and informative. If you want to get the SQL code file that we have used in this demo, then please feel free to put your email IDs in the comment section. Thank you for watching and keep learning.
Hi there, if you like this video, subscribe to the Simplilearn YouTube channel and click here to watch similar videos. To nerd up and get certified, click here.